from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast, Thursday, October 19th, 2023. Good morning to everyone tuning in live for our show this morning. We are on your favorite social media platform, wherever you're catching us, whether it be YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, now X, Twitch, Rumble, or Facebook. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate y'all being part of the show this morning. A good morning, everyone commenting. We've got a busy show, y'all. Really, like, super busy. So we're going to get right into it. New intro, which I hope you enjoyed. And now, without further ado, join me for a cup of coffee. My double espresso coffee cup. Cheers, y'all. Let's go ahead and kick this off this morning with Vietnamese government agents apparently targeting several U.S. lawmakers and journalists with a Pegasus spyware, Pegasus similar spyware. They were targeting Representatives Michael McCall of Texas, John Hoeven of North Dakota, Chris Murphy of Connecticut, and Gary Peters of Michigan. They were all tagged in various posts with malicious links to install Predator, which is similar to Pegasus. McCall is the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, who was allegedly targeted in a reply to a tweet from Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And another, and Hoeven was allegedly targeted in a reply from a post from the Taiwanese president, Chi Ing-wen, about the senator's visit. Peters, who's the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and Murphy, who's a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, were both tagged in a reply to a tweet from an Albanian politician about their visit to the nation. The national security analyst at CNN, Jim Sciutto, was also, and two other reporters based in Taiwan were also targeted with malicious links. And the Washington Post is reporting that none of the targeted individuals were actually infected with the spyware, but they were targeted. So this is significant, by the way. The group said that the Vietnam Ministry of Public Security had signed a deal with a company tied to the Predator developer through what researchers dubbed the Intellexa Alliance, and apparently received a technology shipment through its intermediaries. Now, Vietnam has very, very close relations to China. It wouldn't be far-fetched for the Chinese to actually do this. And we got a lot to talk about today in geopolitics, by the way, a lot, because it's impacting cyber directly or indirectly, whether you like it or not. That's just the fact of the matter here. Vietnam, for their end, very loyal to China, and could be used by China. Also, corruption is rampant in Vietnam. So it wouldn't be far-fetched for the Vietnamese government to buy something to use internally, to then have the Chinese know that they bought something, go out there, have the Chinese pay someone to actually try and target American congressmen and women and people, because they're targeting people in Taiwan, right? And who has an interest in Taiwan? Not Vietnam, but China does. So just 2 + 2 = 4 here. So there's that. North Korea, for their end, are observed exploiting the recent vulnerability in the JetBrains TeamCity CI/CD server, according to Microsoft CVE 2023-427903, which is a critical severity flaw allowing unauthenticated attackers to execute code remotely on vulnerable on-premise TeamCity instances and gain administrator-level permissions. JetBrains had patched the bug on September 21st, and the exploitation attempts started about a week later. Now they're saying that North Korea has really kind of stepped up to it. Zinc, believed to be a subgroup of Lazarus, is focused on espionage, data theft, destruction, and financial gain. It's also known for targeting defense-related entities, journalists, and IT services organizations. And the group has been observed compromising TeamCity servers to deploy a persistent backdoor named Forest Tiger and using the malware to dump LSAS credentials from memory. So this isn't just happening with one group from North Korea, by the way. It's happening with multiple groups from North Korea who are exploiting this specific vulnerability. If you haven't patched it yet, you want to make sure you get it patched. Your supply chain could be a risk. So you also want to make sure that if you have companies that are using this and they're a critical supply chain vendor, that they're addressing the patch. CISA, for their end, with the NSA, with the FBI, with the MSI-SEX, have released a joint guide on commonly used phishing techniques and providing recommendations on how to guide them. Pretty self-explanatory, a lot of MFA, how to avoid weak forms of MFA like without FIDO or PKI-based MFA, push notifications without number matching, etc. All of those different things, very straightforward. The link's in the show notes. Go check it out. Very, very worthy of a view. Ukraine activists hack the Trigona ransomware gang and wipe their servers. The Ukrainian Cyber Alliance banner has hacked the servers of the Trigona ransomware gang, wiped them clean after copying all the information available. The Ukrainian Cyber Alliance fighters say they exfiltrated all the data from the threat actor systems, including source code and database records, which may include decryption keys. The Cyber Alliance gained access to Trigona's infrastructure by using a public exploit for CVE 2023-22515, which was a critical vulnerability in the Confluence data center and server that can be leveraged remotely to escalate privileges. The vulnerability was leveraged in attacks as a 0-day since September 14th. This is good guys kind of taking something that is happening and going after a ransomware gang, and Trigona has been wiped out the map. They'll be back. They always come back. But nonetheless, if you are a victim of this ransomware, chances are they might have the decryption keys and you might still be able to recover data there. Just don't pay them anymore. Remember that 23andMe hack that we talked about a few weeks ago on the show? Yeah, that one. Right? Well, they're leaking more data. And now the first time the leak came through, it was about 1 million Ashkenazi Jews whose data was leaked. Now they leaked 4.1 million genetic data profiles for people in the UK and Germany. 23andMe has said that the data that was obtained was through credential stuffing attacks on accounts using weak passwords. But how many users did you have that had weak passwords? By my math right now, that's 5.1 million. So the company trying to shake their responsibility is a bit sickening, because either you allow weak passwords, right? Either you allow weak passwords, or you're not watching for any credential stuffings, attacks coming through, meaning you don't have any sort of identity security. So blaming your customer is just sickening, to say the least. Like, it's not our fault customers had weak passwords. They stole 5.1 million username and passwords and then logged in and exfiltrated all that data, and none of your systems, none of your monitoring, nothing found that to be suspicious. Just going to question the narrative just a second. Question the narrative. Right? So, again, I mean, there's that. I mean, the stuff that the hackers claim, by the way, is just absolutely ridiculous. They're like, well, royal families use 23andMe. No, they don't use just stop. Like, I get it. You want to put out some troves there and say, like, we have the bloodline of so-and-so. You hacked 23andMe. You're not saying how you hacked it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this could be an internal actor. Just saying, it could be someone who worked at the company or was a contractor at the company, downloaded the data through normal business practices for whatever godforsaken reason, and maybe didn't get paid, maybe got pissed, whatever the case may be, gave it to someone, and now they're leaking it just to cause damage too. Don't put that far-fetched. The fact that they can't find it doesn't mean that they're right. The fact that they can't find it means they're not looking hard enough. That's taking that there. Casio, for their end, they're disclosing a data breach that's impacting customers in 149 different countries. That's about 75% of the world. Casio detected the incident on Wednesday, October 11th last week, following the failure of a ClassPad database within the company's dev environment. Evidence suggests the attacker accessed the customer's personal information a day later on October 12th. So they've got a ClassPad education platform. The person, the incident happened in their dev environment, and they had real customer data in dev environment. So let's go through our basic cybersecurity rules of working. Never have real data in dev environment, because dev environment is the wild, wild west. Casio saying that the information that was stored there is email addresses, countries of residence, service usage details, and purchase information such as payment methods, license codes, and order specifics. They're saying credit card information wasn't stored there. That'd be a PCI violation. The attackers accessed 91,921 items belonging to Japanese customers. including individuals and educational institutions, and 35,049 records belonging to customers from 148 other countries and regions around the world. So from a total impact, it's about 120,000 people. No, not nothing too crazy, but nonetheless, ClassPath's still online. There's still going at it, and there's that. Now let's move to everything going on in Israel. I took a mental health day yesterday. Just the last 11, 12 days have been, it's felt like one really, really long day some days, and other days not so much. So Iran, for their end, are the orchestrators of everything going on. Not to dismiss Hamas for being ISIS and doing what they do. They were inspired by Iran. They were paid for by Iran. But Iran, for their end, are trying to kind of start multiple different aspects. And they're doing that for a few reasons, just so you guys asking, like, do they hate Israel? Iran has, since the Islamic Revolution in Iran, it's been death to America and death to Israel chants every Friday after their great Ayatollah leader speaks. Okay, so there's that. Yes, they despise the West. Jimmy Carter did some really good things as president of this country, but human rights and weakness was one of those things where he thought that those standards would apply to those animals and savages. They don't. Iran, for their end, are trying to distract Israel as they feel like they're nearing some sort of nuclear capability. So this is what all this is. You can't look the other way. Now, they may have kept Israel a little busy, but Israel hasn't taken their eyes off the prize. In fact, speaking to multiple people in the defense industry in Israel, they go, we know Iran's behind a lot of this. We know Iran is working on a nuclear bomb. We haven't taken our eyes off the prize, and we've know exactly how to target them. The Mossad has also vowed, they took down their head of intel in a midday assassination in the middle of Tehran. So there are stuff going. There is kind of a shadow war going on between Israel and Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah. Yesterday, Israel fired and took out a pro-Iranian resistance group making their way from northern Syria to southern Syria to fire rockets at Israel. The Air Force reunited them with their maker. Israeli Air Force did that. We've got 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of Israel, and if you ask yourself, what are they doing? Well, now they're trying to set their sights on Israeli industrial control systems. We saw a bunch of stuff yesterday on Telegram and other pro-Palestinian, pro-Iranian channels where they showed, like, here we go, we hacked these industrial control systems. I've actually validated this with people who the company I work with, we're in ICS, right? We're in the power industry and in oil and gas. And so all of them pretty much validated that some of those systems were real, but they didn't have control. It was just kind of like read only. They didn't touch anything. It was almost to say, like, look, I got this. And it could have been a screenshot that they would have taken from a potential training or something else, that they didn't really have access to systems because they didn't do anything. I mean, that's like saying, here's a gun, taking out a gun and not doing anything, with it. Well, that's not a very good example, but nonetheless, right, there's there. So apparently they're saying that we have access to the ICS systems. We can do all of that. There's an image. It had some IP addresses. Again, this could have been something that someone used at a presentation at some point, or something they intercepted and hacked at some point, but they didn't really have access. For there, and everyone in Israel says, we don't know what that is. We don't see any signs of intrusions, believe it or not. Again, take it at face value. We are at war. There's an information war going on between Iran, Israel, and the Palestinians as well, for awareness. So those things are to be said. So we'll see that. Israel, for their end, are now working on the development of a Cyberdome, a digital version of Iron Dome. The Cyberdome, which is an installation situated in Beersheba, is being built with the help of AI and a small army of intelligence personnel. The platform will help secure Jerusalem's vital infrastructure from sophisticated cyber attacks carried out by hostile nations. So this is a report coming from the Jerusalem Post, where, as of right now, Israel sees this as being a threat, since a lot of businesses in Israel, including President Isaac Herzog, are being hacked or defaced in this ongoing conflict. And finally, a great story here at the Jerusalem Post by How to Defend Yourself Against Hamas's Cyber Warfare by a Dr. Amir Geffen, who's elaborating how to stay safe against enemy cyber offensives, especially as they increase and as the conflict deepens. There's a psychological warfare, there's information warfare, and there's so many others of those. And this is magnificent here. He shares a lot of that. Dr. Amir Geffen, is a cyber safety researcher at the Gordon Academic College. And he talks about limiting children's exposure to psychological warfare, specifically around social media. This can cause anxiety, depression, and traumatic feeling. So be vigilant. Don't let your kids hang around smartphones. Even here in the US, by the way, we're seeing a lot of stuff on TikTok, Instagram, X, and other places where there's a lot of distressing videos. So this doesn't just apply to Israeli parents. This applies to all humans everywhere. Please be mindful of what your kids are doing on there. For those in Israel, Hamas is already in your WhatsApp group. We know they stole phones from civilians and soldiers. We know that they're monitoring some of these WhatsApp groups. They're probably sitting in there and watching. So be mindful, create new groups. Don't invite the people who've been compromised into those groups, and continue your communication as needed. Enable two-factor authentication in all your critical accounts, and don't share the 6-digit codes sent via SMS with anyone, especially there. And obviously 119 in Israel is the Israel National Cyber Directorate. So if you are a victim, you can just call that and they'll help you out. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back on Monday with a whole lot more. Until then, have a great rest of your day, y'all. Great weekend, and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.